Okay, well, I am excited for our next round of conversations today. I'm really excited to have Dan Edmondson here with us, and we've got a really great time prepared. You're going to have a chance to meet a number of our cadre interns and hear a little bit about some of the work that we're doing there. Just to give you an idea of kind of what the timeline will look like, Dan's going to share a little bit about himself and how he got here. Then we're going to hear from three different cadre interns and their story. And then as we wrap up, it'll be an opportunity for you to just join us in prayer for what God's doing with each one of them. And so why don't we just get things started? Dan, why don't you maybe introduce yourself and just share a little bit about what is the cadre program and how did you find the mission? How did you get connected?
Yeah, Jason, thank you so much for this opportunity. My name is Dan Edmondson. I'm coming to you live from our downtown facility. I'm in Washington Court, which is a part of the mission. And in a nutshell, I have been a pastor full-time for 35 years. And I'm going on my fourth year with the mission. It's a super long story, but I got to a place in my ministry where I realized that I was talking a lot about outreach on Sunday morning preaching, but I wasn't doing it. And through a series of events, I got a job at the mission initially as the manager of education and employment over at our Riverton campus. But secretly, I had always wanted this position that I'm currently in because I love to disciple men. I love to just pass the baton and just pour into other men's lives. And that's really what Cadre is all about. So yeah, Jason, that's a very brief story.
Well, and Dan, you did a fantastic job in the role in finding jobs for people and getting them plugged in. And I can see the pastor's heart. You really love people and lean in and build into them. And I see it in the guys you care for. I see it in other staff. And so when I heard that you'd stepped into the cadre chaplain role, I was really excited because I knew that there'd be some exciting things happening with the cadre guys.
Yeah, that's super kind of you to say. I actually tell people, depending on the situation, that I pastor a small downtown inner city church because it's exactly like that. And really, we do have men in our program, and their desire once they graduate cadre is to go into the pastoral ministry.
That's awesome. Well, Dan, why don't you tell us a little bit more about kind of what cadre is and kind of how it comes together?
Yeah, so the way the mission is set up is, let's say you have a guy, literally I'm looking out my window right now. Let's say you have a guy on the street. He comes into the mission, into our overnight shelter. We enter into a dialogue with him. Right now it's a little tricky with the whole COVID-19 thing, but we are accepting people once they've been screened and gone through our quarantine process. So they come into our program here for usually 3 months. At that time, they walk across the bridge to our Burien campus, and that's a 1-year-long intensive recovery program. When they graduate from that, they really have two options. Option number one is finding a job, which is what I used to do. Option number two is an additional year in cadre, which is basically you're giving back to the mission. So you're an intern. And honestly, I was just talking with our director, Scott Cleveland, and my boss, Charles Alfred. Really, cadre runs the mission. We don't have enough staff to keep this ship afloat. And so cadre is really the bread and butter. These guys are in the trenches doing the day in and day out stuff.
Well, that's fantastic, Dan. I know all the cadre guys are faces that everybody knows. They're involved in so many different parts of the mission. And one of the things that I've loved too is that it's there's stories of success and possibility and opportunity for our guys and for our girls in program, that God can change a life, that God does make a difference in the day to day. Well, let's jump into hearing from a couple of the guys. Dan, I'll come back to you at the end because I do want to be praying for you and praying for what we're doing. But I'm going to jump over to Robin. Robin, great to have you. Why don't you maybe just tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're doing with CADRE, where you are, and then you can jump into kind of how you've plugged in and your story.
Right. My name is Robin. I am the senior CADRE intern here at the Union Gospel Mission. Dan had kind of pulled me under his wing when I was over at our Riverton location. And he had put me in a position where I was taking over some of the technical side of things. A spot had opened up, as he had described, at our downtown shelter. He thought that it'd be great to kind of pull me over there with him, and that was a really great situation for both of us, I think. So currently, what we're working on with our guys is through our classes, I put together a few computers for the guys. So we had 13 guys, 13 computers that needed to be put together. And overcoming that hurdle provided all of our men with an ability to not only kind of excel at their classes, but it also kind of open up the world to them, which I find extremely important when at the moment, unfortunately, we are kind of confined given the current events, the current situations. We do have a graduation coming up for our Bridge program guys, for our Bridge Plus and CADRE. So I am putting together a graduation video that is labeled A Day in the Life of the Downtown Shelter. I'm really excited to put together that special that special project. It hasn't quite been done before. I think that it'll show the pride that we have in our day-to-day routine.
That's going to be great. I'm excited to see that. And I'm excited about the graduations coming up too. I have missed having the chance to do that. What room are you in? What space of the mission are you at?
Right. So I am what is called a Washington Court, which is a separate building, same block as the downtown shelter that's reserved for our CADRE guys. It's a dormitory style living situation. And I have a room, it's a room office on our second floor of that particular building.
Great. Well, Robin, why don't you share a little bit of your journey? How did you find the mission? What has it been like in walking through recovery? What is CADRE like? That kind of thing.
Right. So about 2 years ago, I had a neurological disorder that presented itself, and it obliterated, my foundation in a way that I wasn't prepared for. My family wasn't prepared for. I wasn't able to walk without assistance for about a month, and I have Tourette's syndrome that had progressed at a later stage into adulthood. And throughout that time of me recovering from this, it was a neurological situation that presented itself. My body went to convulsions, and so my body was in convulsions for about 5 or 6 weeks. After that, started to recede. My Tourette's syndrome symptoms started presenting themselves in a way that wasn't controllable. I needed help. I wasn't able to go to work in the same capacity, though I still had the drive that I wanted to do something. And so through that, I was able to get able to receive help through their medical staff or their medical connections. So that way I was able to have a situation where I could relax and recover without the stresses of the burdens that I had on my plate at that time. And through that process, I mean, if I look in the mirror today and I look at myself versus the person who was struggling 2 years ago, I wouldn't be able to tell the difference. I've come a long way. Just being able to sit here and have this conversation in the capacity that I am now is a miracle. I bought a car not that long ago. It was actually about a year ago, so I've had it for a while. And a year and a half ago, I was told that I wouldn't be able to drive, and that car meant the world to me because it meant that I was able to overcome something that we didn't think I would be able to overcome. The mission has done so much for me in that capacity. It's opened so many doors, and I've been able to really kind of flex my muscles, be it technically speaking, and also with the guys. Dan was in charge of education and employment services. The part that I played in that was I had what is it? Resume workshops. I helped them improve their technical skills, accountability, job applications, and anything in the area that would, if they're presented with an issue regarding, logistical problems that they needed help overcoming, maybe it was with court, I would be there to help walk them through that, and for them to be able to acquire the tools in order to be able to do that on their own from there on forward.
Well, that's great. Well, Robin, it's great to get to talk with you and hear a little bit about the journey that you've been on to get here. And I'm excited that the missions played a role in that. And I've always been impressed with your heart to care for other people and to be helpful in whether it's technology based or it's relationship based or helping guys understand the system. So thank you for what you're doing.
Of course. Thank you, Jason.
Absolutely. I'll have you join us at the end when we just say a word of prayer.
Okay.
I'm going to jump over now to Eric. Eric, how are you doing?
I am having some technical difficulties. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you. We're good.
Okay. It's cut out a couple of times, so let's pray this works. Hi.
Hi, it's great to have you. I know when I started just over a year ago, you had been involved already in some of the work at CADRE, and you've helped in a lot of different ways. We've connected in building relationships with some of our donors, and I know I've seen you in 1,000 different places around the mission, so it's fun to have you here today.
Yeah, thanks. So just a little bit about me and my story. When I came to the mission, I was just completely broken. I was in a bad place. And that's how I ended up at the mission. Actually, it was God that brought me here. UGM's been instrumental in kind of just like rescuing me from myself. I was just on this self-destructive path I never thought I'd find myself on. And at the end of the day, I needed a place where I can be sheltered from just the access to be able to perpetually put myself in a bad situation. And getting to the mission, I was able to recognize it being God, his purpose, and I was able to begin the process of sitting still and to see what God had for me. And it's been nothing short of amazing. It's just been filled with grace. I did my first year through the recovery program. God allowed me to step into some situations right away. As a house manager over at Riverton, I started learning how to be a leader again, but I learned how to do it in a way that was surrounded or driven by service. And I think that's one of the main takeaways that I've gained in my time here at the mission is really the heart of ministry. And regardless of where you're at, wherever God has you, there's always an opportunity to be a service to people. So I'm continually learning this every day. Right now, I am a second-year intern. My first year was surrounded. It actually surrounded project management, where I was able to put together an additional welcome center on our third floor. That was very new for me. God kind of stretched me out. I was able to learn that I was a little bit more competent than I ever knew. By God's help, with God's help, so that was really cool. My second year, I've been a case manager on the extended care program floor, in addition to the Bridge Plus program. And it's just been a huge blessing learning how to serve and work with men that are presented with so many different unique challenges. And you really have to learn how to be considerate to different people and who they are, where they come from, how they process information. Just it's been a well-rounded learning experience for me as far as learning how to serve. In addition, I just finished my second year at Northwest University. So by the grace of God, I earned my associate's degree in ministry leadership. And of course, that's the heart of my life right now. It's ministry. I'm getting opportunities to preach at my church about once a month. Right now, actually, due to the quarantine, we haven't been able to go out much. So I've been preaching on Sundays here at the mission, which has really been pretty cool because I get to preach every Sunday. So just a lot of good things have been coming from my time here. I totally see it being God's will, and I totally see how instrumental and significant the UGM has been in this process. So I'm grateful.
That's fantastic, Eric. I love to hear about the preaching that you're doing. Thank you for taking a few minutes. I'm going to jump over to Jeremy. Jeremy, how are you doing?
Hi, Jason. I'm doing fine, thank you.
Good. Well, Jeremy, thanks for taking a couple minutes. Why don't you maybe tell everyone a little bit about the room that you're in and kind of how you've connected in with the mission?
Well, currently I'm on the same building as Robin, as far as the Washington Court where we're all housed, and but currently I'm a ECP, which stands for Extended Care Program, and I'm a beginning intern, and I'm trying to actually kind of fill Eric's shoes, and luckily he's been there with me, helping me with along with my case, the lead case manager, and so just like he was saying, it's just working with men that might be recovering from surgery or have disabilities and are about to have corrective surgery, and of course they're from all different walks of life and different backgrounds. So there's a little bit of a language barrier sometimes, but we get past that, and it's very rewarding for me because I not only do I get to work with them on their floor, I also do the morning devotionals for them twice a week, and so we get to do a little bit of praise and worship, and get to do some morning devotionals on different subjects, and we get along great, and they just for the most part, for me, it's just being able to listen to them, getting to know these gentlemen on a personal level. And it's funny because a lot of them just open up, they just want to tell me what's going on, even though I may not be their case manager. Just the willingness to listen to them really seems to help them, if anything. It's on a personal level. I think that's a great process for healing for anyone. And it's just a blessing for me to be able to be there with these guys, and kind of maybe walk with them along the way there, and let them know that I'm here if you need to talk to me. But I've worked with my case manager before. In the when I first came through the program, I was working in the Welcome Center. So my supervisor then is now my supervisor now. So we have a little bit of a rapport with each other, which worked great. We just kind of clicked right off, and it's continuing right now with my internship. And all in all, it's just it's been a blessing. So I'm in our floor right here where we have our morning devotions. I'll just do a quick look around here, and of course we have all the couches, to where we can all gather around in the morning. And so that's like the first thing we do during the day is start off in prayer and fellowship, and any concerns that we may have, and it's a great way to start the day, with our feet planted firmly in the Word, and it's just a great way to start the day for all of us.
Yeah, Jeremy, it sounds like you're having some really rich shared experiences with the guys on the ECP floor, and it's really fun to hear about how you connected with Welcome Center and kind of how you've plugged in there. How did you get connected with the mission? What is your journey? What brought you here? What's that been like?
Wow, that's it's an amazing story. Some years back when I was living in Alaska, I had a cousin of mine that we'd been in touch, and he was calling me from Washington, and he told me that he entered this program for a year. And I thought he was crazy. I was like, what are you doing in a program for a year? And so we were in touch, and he got through the program, and he said, well, I'm going to do another year. And I had no idea what this was about, what he was talking about. And so he'd met someone, and they ended up getting engaged, and he had a child on the way. And at the time, I was struggling with my addiction and alcohol, and I was really in a bad way. I'd been in and out of the hospitals, and he'd offered to let me come stay with them. And so I stayed with him for a while, but I relapsed a couple of times really hard. And eventually he ended suggesting, to entering the Union Gospel Mission. And I was a little afraid to do it, but I knew I needed it, not just physically, and I needed it spiritually and emotionally. I was devoid, I was empty, and I was searching for that. And so I was scared to get in the program, and I started off, where everybody does here, next door on the 5th floor on the bridge program. And 3 months later, I made it out to Riverton, is where I met Dan. And that was just, the whole experience there was great. All the going to summer camp, and all the classes that we take, anger management, and all the spiritual classes, and of course the meetings involved. We're allowed to go to a couple meetings a week, and of course the church every Sunday. So it was just, the whole process was just it led up to this. And to see every phase that all the men go through when they graduate is just, it's amazing how they transform, how I've transformed, over the past few years. And it just, I'm speechless sometimes, because, it's a blessing just to see, how every man, is, not afraid to, say they're proud of what they've done, without, sounding, stuck up or anything, mind you. But it's just, I've actually developed some friends that, I'm still in touch with, even though they're out of state. So I think I'll have some lifelong friends here. And it's a great, I love it here.
That's awesome. Well, it sounds like you're really being intentional with your time in building relationships, and being intentional and building into yourself. And I appreciate your heart as you've stepped into this journey.
Thank you, Jason.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna go back to Eric for a second. I know we've been having a couple of technical things, and then I will come back to all of you and just say a prayer at the end. So, Eric, how are things going over there?
I can kind of hear you. I can. You're in and out. It's dropping quite a bit. So.
Okay. Well,
if you had another question.
Is there anything else that you had wanted to share that you didn't have a chance to?
No, just that I'm extremely grateful for the mission. Again, I can't express how much I can see how God works through this place. You definitely have to have a mindset to come in here and get everything that God has for you. It doesn't look like a lot sometimes to the outside and to the naked eye, but there's a lot of God's favor and grace in this place, and you just got to really, get yourself in position to receive it. And I see great things happening for other people, and I'm excited I've been able to be a part of it myself. So, yeah, that's about it.
Fantastic. Well, let me, I want to just take a moment to pray for all of you guys, and just pray for what God is doing in your lives and the steps you're taking. It was really fun to watch your reactions as each one of you was sharing. Eric, when you talked about just the mindset, all of the heads started nodding. Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about there. And there's a really neat camaraderie. I think one of the things that I have struggled the most with in this virtual world is you miss some of those interactions and those intangible interactions that you don't necessarily think about. And there's a lot of care and intentionality you guys have between each other. So let me just maybe pray for you guys, and then I wanted to just call out the graduation one more time.
No.
And I will let me just bow my head for a moment and just pray for each one of you guys. Father, I thank you for each one of these men. I thank you for the steps that they're taking. I thank you for the decisions they're making. I thank you for the wrestling and the understanding of who you are and who they are and the things that they walk through. It takes a lot of determination, and it takes a lot of introspection and taking a hard look at yourself and life to get to the place that each one of them has. And when I look and when I talk with all of them, what I see is a desire to care for their fellow man and care for each other. I also see a huge heart for the gospel and for what God is doing. I love the story of Eric sharing on Sundays and stepping into the pastoral work that he's doing. I appreciate the things that Robin is doing to help other guys and to understand the process and the systems. And I just thank you for Jeremy's heart to walk with the guys in ECP, and you can see the power of the shared experience that is there in just caring for the guys and helping them see opportunities and a different path for the future. I pray for each one of them and for the journey that they're on, that you would continue to draw close to them. I pray for Dan, that you'd continue to give him wisdom and guidance and leadership. And I just thank you for the heart that he has to walk side by side and get to know and really care for each one of these guys. And I just pray as we close this time that you would just be all over blessing these men's lives, that you would continue to take the plan in the future that you've planned for them and weave that into the fabric of their life. And I just thank you for your care. And I pray all these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Well, I want to do one final shameless plug for the mission graduations. These are really great times to hear about, to see the success of what God is doing in the hearts of our men and women. So the CADRE one is on Tuesday, June 30th at 1 p.m. I believe there's one CADRE individual and 3 Bridge Plus guys. Is that right, Dan?
Yes, that's correct.
I think we have 9 women on the women recovery, which is probably the largest graduation we've ever had. And then there's a handful of guys on the Thursday, June 25th as well for the men's recovery program. So I just want to thank each one of you guys for taking some time today and sharing from your hearts. And I really wish you the best and look forward to having a day where we can see each other face to face again. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jason.
Thank you, Jason.
Take care.